I hope everybody's well today. Let's do the chanting straight away. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami, tudiyambi buddham saranam gacchami, tudiyambi dhammam saranam gacchami, tudiyambi sangham saranam gacchami, tadayambi buddham saranam gacchami, tadayambi dhammam saranam gacchami, Tadayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the six paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the six paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the six paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayataum gati gati parasum gati bodhisoha. Tayataum gati gati parasum gati bodhisoha. Tayataum gati gati parasum gati bodhisoha. So just before we do some meditation practice, I'd just like to share with you the sad news of my dear friend Roger McLaughlin passed away a couple of days ago. So I was quite shocked, actually. I only found out overnight, so the next day, basically. And he died from complications with pancreatic cancer, but it was very quick. So I hear. Okay, so I just share with you. I hadn't seen Rog face to face for quite some time, but obviously we're in contact along a lot. Last time we had contact together was actually on my birthday, so the 5th of April recently. And the last time we had, really long discussions was probably back in March sometime. But what can I say? Obviously, we spent a lot of time together over the years. We first met as musicians, myself as a songwriter, him as a budding producer. And so he recorded some of my material. And from that point on, so about 1988 onwards, became very good friends. In fact, I used to probably irritate his wife back then. and stay with them whenever I came back to Australia from overseas. So I spent a lot of nights there. And we spent a lot of time together. In fact, we were probably bad for each other in that sense. We kept each other up too late, talking about philosophy, about the Dharma, and so on and so forth. But yeah, off and on over the years, spent a lot of time together. Of course, I lived in different countries, and Roger was busy playing bass with lots of well-known people around here and there, including internationally as well. So yeah, it's very saddened to hear that. I was really surprised that it happened so quickly. And of course, deepest condolences to his wife, Desley, and the rest of the family and friends as well, and band members too, because he played music right up till recent times, I think. So um, just to let you know, I mean, some of you students for a long time would know me speaking of Roger over time, but also um, just share with you and remind you that he recorded with me. He sort of produced with me the Buddhist CDs and co-wrote some of the songs, the instrumental parts of some of the songs, musical parts. And so we did actually the three CDs, but we worked on these things, probably doing sort of edits and sub-edits and things like that from about 2009 through to about 2016. So we spent a lot of hours doing that and a lot of joyful time. Quite tiring, but very meaningful as well. And so, yeah, so I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to share it with you. I hope I don't bring the Dharma class down today. But I'd like to dedicate all of the merits from this class, as well as from the past into the future, to the merits from the past, present, and future. And even though I don't know all living beings, but from all living beings, dedicate to Roger's good rebirth and swift attainment of nirvana, of enlightenment, and to be born in the Pure Land up until then, practicing the Dharma. And obviously dedicate this to all sentient beings. We have to do that, by the way. I just share with you that the more you dedicate to innumerable beings, the more the dedication multiplies in goodness and so on. Okay. Because if we just do it to one person, a loved one, for instance, very limited, isn't it? So, so I know that some of you would have met Roger briefly. I think Mahendra and Ellen, David Maureen, I think maybe you came to the Vesak events at the Melbourne Town Hall over those years, and you would have met him because he came along to those as well, being, as I said, one of the producers and co-writers of some of the music. So, wonderful bass player, you know, regarded as probably the best in Australia over periods of time. Played in the band's Little River Band. He was an original member in that band. And back in the 70s, Roger, by the way, was, I think, 71 or was going on 72, so about 8.5 or 9 years older than me. Then he left Little River Band and joined a band called Stars, which had some success in Australia and surrounds, and also was in the band Pyramid, which was a jazz fusion band that traveled throughout Europe to all the jazz festivals and so on. And yeah, wonderful music and wonderful musicians within these bands, and played with lots of other people, John Farnham Band and so on and so forth. You know, wrote that bass hook in You're the Voice, boom, 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 boom. And so a lot of other people as well. So I will leave it there. If you do think of Roger John McLaughlin, if you do think of him during your practices, please dedicate the merits for his good rebirth and attainment of enlightenment, and then do the dedication to all sentient beings like we do. Okay, so I know Roger was from a place called Invercargill, right at the southern end of the South Island of New Zealand. And so, as you can probably guess by the last name, McLaughlin, so a lot of Scottish people moved to that area. And I know Mum and Dad have visited around that area as well. They've traveled throughout New Zealand twice. I've been to New Zealand only once, to North Island, though, and have not visited down that area. And of course, he moved to Australia as the bass player in the band, the pit band for the musical Godspell, and then eventually stayed here. So, okay, did a lot of musicals and TV sort of things like that. I will now instruct on meditation. Once again, I say to you, please, I don't want to bring down the mood in the Dharma class, but maybe when we have situations like this in our lives, it can remind us of the precious human life. We must practice here and now, remind you of impermanence. Everything's changing, doesn't last. Remind you of the law of karma. Engage in good actions, body, speech, and mind. Avoid engaging in bad actions of body, speech, and mind. And bring to mind the unsatisfactory nature of cyclic existence so that we do, to use slang language, get off our butts and practice. Don't put it off all the time, okay? So now get yourself comfortable for meditation. Bring your mind inside your body. And release the tension from the tips of your toes all the way up to your shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. So as you do this, I will create some more merit, accumulate more merit, and dedicate to Roger by chanting this mantra. I will also do it during the breath meditations as well. If we didn't have such short classes, I would do it at a different time during the class. So releasing the tension from inside the body. Namo Ratnatraya Namo Arya Volagidishvaraya Bodhisattvaya Mahasavaya Mahakarunakaya Savala Sudana Tasya Namaskriva Namanariya Volagidishvara Lantaba Namoniganda Sri Mahabadishame Savavati Shubhama Shiyum Zava Zava Namo Basava Namo Bhagama Bate Tutayatam Avoloka lokati kalati sire mahabodhi safa sabo sabo mara mara mashi mashi de dayu guru guru gamayin duru duru bashiya de mahabashiya de dara dara de renesvareya jala jala mahabamara mudeleya hiya hiya shinna shinna hala shimbara shale basha bazembara shaya hulu hulu bera hulu hulu shiri zara zara sere sere suru suru Budaya, Budaya, Bodaya, Bodaya, Matreya, Nilikanstiti, Siddhana, Bayamana, Soha, Siddhaya, Soha, Maha, Siddhaya, Soha, Siddhya, Yeshvareya, Soha, Nilikanda, Soha, Pranila, Soha, Sri Mukaya, Soha, Sarva, Maha, Sasdaya, Soha, Chakra, Astaya, Soha, Padmagasaya, Soha, Danilikandi, Pandilaya, Soha, Mobili, Shankaraya, Soha, Namo Ratnatraya, Namo Arya, Volagitishvaraya, Soha. Siddhantu mantra pate swaha. So by now you should have scanned your body again, release the tension that was left over. And now bring your focus to the tip of your nose and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe all the way into your lungs and then back out your nose again. Feeling of the breath just to remind you some major parts of the body that the breath goes past, you could say, on the inside. Is the throat, the chest, the abdomen rises, falls, and then it goes out your nose again. So you can focus on these different parts as the air goes past these parts. You can also add the extra technique of counting the breaths 1 to 10. 1 in breath, 1 out breath is 1, and so on. Don't count past 10. And if you get distracted on the way towards 10, go back to 1 at that time. So if any thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it or grasp at it or try to force it away or deny it. But simply and naturally replace your mind back onto your breath as you let go of these thoughts and mental activities. If your mind becomes dull or sleepy, wake it up a little bit. and replace your mind back onto your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this. Keep your focus on the breathing. Don't pay attention to my chanting, apart from knowing that it's good, that it's impermanent, that it's accumulating merit, but there's no self, no merit to be found. Developing relative bodhicitta of great compassion, working the way to realizing the supreme wisdom. Namo Ratnatreya Namo Namo Ratnatreya Namo Arya Jnana Sagara Virochana Buhara Teya Tatagateya Harata Samya Sambuddhaya Namo Sarva Tatagatabiya Aratabiya Samya Sambuddhabiya Namo Arya Volagidishvaraya Bodhisavaya Mahasavaya Mahagarunikaya Tayata Dara Dara Dere Dere Duru Duru Ide Vodishale Jale Bajale Bajale Kusume kusume vare ele mele ziti zola banaya soha. Namo Ratna Treya Namo Ariya Jnana Sagara Viroshana Buhara Teya Tatagateya Arhati Samya Sambuddhaya Namo Sarvata Tagatabiya Aratabiya Samya Sambuddhabiya Namo Ariya Avalagidishvaraya Bodhisavaya Mahasavaya Mahagarunikaya Dayata Dara dara dere dere duru duru vide vodi shale shale barzale guzume vare ele mele siddhi zala baniye soha. Namo Radha Treya Namo Ariya Jnana Sagara Viroshana Buhara Teya Tatagateya Arati Samya Sambuddhaya Namo Sarva Tatagatabiya Arhatabiya Samya Sambuddhabiya Namo Ariya Volagidishvaraya Bodhisavaya Mahasavaya Mahagarunikaya Dayada Dara dara dere dere duru duru ede vode shale shale basale basale kusume vare ele mele siddhi zola baniya soha. Om mani padme hum mani padme hum mani padme hum. Om mani padme hum 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 mani padme hum. Om mani padme hum 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 mani padme hum. Om mani padme hum mani padme hum mani padme hum mani padme hum mani padme hum. Om Ram Om Shiram Om Mani Padme Hum Om Zale Zule Sande Swaha Brum Om Ram Om Shiram Om Mani Padme Hum Om Zale Zule Sande Swaha Brum Om Ram Om Shiram Om Mani Padme Hum Om Sale Sule Sande Swabrum. Om Bara Bara Sambara Sambara Indiri Wistami Haha Lulu Jiri Jole Jiri Suha. Om Bara Bara Sambara Sambara Indiri Wisdami Haha Lulu Jiri Jole Jiri Suha. Om Bara Bara Sambara Sambara Indiri Wisdami Haha Lulu Jiri Jole Jiri Suha. Hayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha Dayata Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha. Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Amitabha Buddha. Tayata Bikanze Bikanze Maha Bikanze Raja Samungati Soha Tayata Bikanze Bikanze Maha Bikanze Raja Samungati Soha Tayata Bikanze Bikanze Maha Bikanze Raja Samungati Soha Amarani Javantiya Soha Amarani Javantiya Soha Amarani Javantiya Soha Umahum, 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 Gajaguru Bhamasidehum, Umahum, Gajaguru Bhamasidehum, Umahum, Gajaguru Bhamasidehum, Umahum, Gajaguru Bhamathoring Sabada Samaya Tatsidabala Hum Ha. Hum Gaja Guru Peme Thoring Sabada Samaya Siddhi Pala Hum. Hum Gaja Guru Peme Thoring Sabada Samaya Siddhi Pala Hum. Rapazanadi, Rapazanadi, Rapazanadi. Dare du dare dure soha, dare du dare dure soha, dare du dare dure soha. Dare du dare dure sava jarbiye jende kuru soha, dare du dare dure sava jarbiye jende kuru soha, dare du dare dure sava jarbiye jende kuru soha, dare du dare dure mama you pushem guru soha, dare du dare dure mama you pushem guru soha. Dare dure mama you pushem guru soha. Vajasava, Vajasava, Vajasava. So now you can feel really pleased with yourself. Fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Utilizing the visualization technique of filling your whole being with a white light. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards to our loved ones, family, and friends, filling them with the universal loving kindness too. Wishing that they are happy, free from suffering, that they engage in the causes of happiness and avoid engaging in the causes of suffering. They are peaceful. Now also include strangers and do likewise. And those you may regard as enemies and also do likewise. And now beyond just human beings, to all living beings throughout your immediate area initially, those beings that live in the waters, on the land, fly through the air, whether born from wombs, eggs, moisture, or through transformation. And now throughout your whole state and county, and throughout your whole country, and the whole world, for those countries you're familiar with and have an affinity towards, those you don't know about really, indifferent towards, and those that for whatever reason you may have some negative feelings towards. And throughout all of the waterways, the oceans, and so on, down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And beyond this planet alone, throughout the whole solar system and the galaxy and universe and beyond, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space, even though it's just a concept to us right now, difficult to perceive directly. You could say we can have a leap of faith that it's infinite out there. How can it be any different? Therefore, our loving kindness can be developed infinitely, immeasurably, as along with the compassion and joy, equanimity. And now let's recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed the chanting. Definite meaning there. I won't go into details. I know that I've done these mantras, I think all of them before at different times. and to do with the dedication of the merits. And of course, the most important part of the practice is the mind, utilizing our verbal abilities, chanting the mantras, utilizing our physicality, the body, some mudras here and there. Okay. So we are now talking about, as you know, or giving commentary on the teachings from Master Atisha. So Master Atisha's heart advice. And we've already gone through the first 6 of 47 lines. I'm hoping to go through another 5 today, but we'll see how we go. So the first ones we've gone through are until you attain enlightenment. Well, this is 2 weeks ago now, by the way. So if you want to look, if you want to see the commentary or hear the commentary again, then go back 2 weeks, the video. And then last week we did number 4, 5, and 6 of these teachings or lines or stanzas, if you like. And so the first 3 from 2 weeks ago were, until you attain enlightenment, the spiritual teacher is indispensable. Therefore, rely upon the holy spiritual guide. Until you realize ultimate truth, listening is indispensable. Therefore, listen to the instructions of the spiritual guide. Since you cannot become a Buddha merely by understanding Dharma, practice earnestly with understanding. And from last week, avoid places that disturb your mind and always remain where your virtues increase. Until you attain stable realizations, worldly amusements are harmful. Therefore, abide in a place where there are no such distractions. Avoid friends who cause you to increase delusions and rely upon those who increase your virtue. You should take to heart. So maybe I'll just add a little footnote to those. I didn't mention temples or monasteries, or retreat centers, things like this, places that are actually set up to create an environment, to create an atmosphere that is conducive to practicing meditation, to being non-distracted and so on, to being able to develop the virtues, relinquish our faults and so on, okay? In saying that, your home, wherever you're at, whether you own the place or renting, or whether you're staying at a friend's house, or anything like that, or in a tent, make sure that place is comfortable for you. Make sure it's a place where you can increase your virtues and decrease your faults. So what I'm saying is anywhere, anytime is the right time to practice Dharma and to, adopt good qualities, increase and so on, abandon faults, decrease, eventually eradicate. All right, so I just wanted to add that because I neglected to do so last week. Important, practice Dharma. Remember, even if you only remember this in those times when you are maybe distracted a bit, and that is what to pick up, what to put down, or what to adopt, what to abandon. So this next one says, since there is never a time when worldly activities come to an end, limit your activities. Almost sounds like a riddle. Excuse me. I'm quite blocked in the throat area today. So in samsara, all of these worldly activities, all of these distractions, they don't cease. We've created them through our karma from the past. Even the good karma, you could say, has created some distractions, ones we like. Happiness, even a distraction, limited, sort of impermanent happiness is also a distraction. So we've created these. It's always like this in samsara. Work our way towards enlightenment, by recognizing this, that in samsara there's always distractions. In samsara, there's always, what's the words here used? Worldly activities, always them. So let's limit them. We may not be able to give them up totally. You may not be in a position right now, whether it's mentally or physically or both, to to be in a position where you can be on retreat, living in the mountains in a cave, or a beach area that no one's discovered yet, which is probably pretty rare in the world today, unfortunately. But, you can limit your activities. And those worldly activities you do engage in, make sure they're not harmful. Make sure that they bring, at very least, they're harmless, but make sure in a way that they bring benefit. Okay. And so that you can continue moving in the right direction on the Dharma path. And like I said, ask the question, rhetorical question. Why not? What else are you going to do? What, create more suffering? What's the point of that? That'd be silly, wouldn't it? So let's create happiness for ourselves. Let's decrease the suffering for ourselves. Let's continue on the path to enlightenment. Like I say again, why not? What else are you going to do? Quite uncomplicated, really, isn't it? The next one, that'll do. Next one is dedicate your virtues throughout the day and the night, and always watch your mind. So we've done that in a sense today. I knew this line was coming up. I don't think I need to go into too much detail here on that one. But, throughout the day, throughout the night, whenever we increase the virtues, whenever we accumulate merit, then multiply it by dedicating it. Dedicate it without expectation of anything in return or anything happening, even. Just dedicate it with good intention, with bodhicitta intention. Then it can become immeasurable. Do this. Whenever you do something that's good, a little bit of practice, even 2 minutes meditation, then dedicate that. Use the prayer that we do, or even if you just have the thought that you dedicate this for the enlightenment of all beings. And always watch your mind. So keep the pure intention. Make sure that you, like the third verse in the 8 verse of thought transformation, in all actions, that you will look after your mind. I won't say the whole verse, but you will look after your mind. And soon as some negativities arise, at that moment, you will let them go, purify them. You can either replace them with the positives, the opposites, or you can realize their empty nature and then let them go because they don't exist anyway, just habits, habitual tendencies that you can release yourself from. That'll do for that one. Because you have received advice, whenever you are not meditating, always practice in accordance with what your spiritual guide says. Now, of course, this is while you're meditating as well. But what he's saying here is, let's say in the meditation, we're sitting there formally, whether it's the breath meditation or even, vipassana meditation, to realize impermanence, realize suffering nature of samsara, realize no self or emptiness, or developing the bodhicitta, or developing loving kindness. Do that. If you're focusing on one of these meditations, then do that. But every time you're not doing that, whatever instructions have been handed to you, you could say, by your spiritual guide, your teachers, a teacher, whatever you have learned, you put that into practice. Even if it's as simple as the buffer zone, creating a gap between your perception of an experience you may have and your mental reactions to it. Create that gap so you don't impulsively react to something, especially in a negative way. So whatever teachings you have learned, put them into practice. Off the cushion and on the cushion, do what you do on the cushion. Off the cushion, keep the same meditative mind and put those other teachings into practice. Okay, that'll do. If you practice with great devotion, results will arise immediately without you having to wait for a long time. To devotion in the Dharma, devotion, you could say, in yourself to realize your own true nature, your enlightened nature. You could say devotion to your teachers as well, because without a devotion to a teacher, then maybe you won't listen to them as much or at all, or not remember the teachings to be able to put them into practice. But specifically, devotion in the Buddha, for instance, Buddha realized enlightenment. So long ago, the Buddha would have been like us. Then spent so long being the Bodhisattva path. helping beings like us realize the result of the path. We can do the same. He says we can do the same. Why wouldn't you be devoted to that being or those beings and their teachings? Teachings are set forth for our benefit. Why wouldn't you be devoted to all of the practitioners on the Dharma path? Because they can help us. Even if they're doing some wrong things, they help us learn what not to do and then help us to be more compassionate in helping them. Say, maybe you can do that better. But the devotion to the Dharma, okay? And if you have this great devotion, then the good results on the path, the favorable conditions on the path towards enlightenment will come quick. You won't have to wait for them. Two aspects I want to mention there. You won't have to wait for them because they will come quicker, but also you won't have to wait for them because you won't be waiting for them. You'll just be practicing without expectation or waiting. Hopefully that makes sense to you, okay? That don't always think you want results. That stops you getting results. Just have devotion and trust and confidence in the methods on the path and in yourself and your abilities to be able to implement them and to eventually realize the result. You won't have to wait too long because you won't be waiting. Maybe that's that's the cryptic teaching for the day. We have another 2 minutes or so I think we can do the last one. If from your heart you practice in accordance with Dharma, both food and resources will come naturally to hand. Once again, this could be metaphor, or this actually could be taken on face value, but it's really the conditions that you need on the Dharma path. If you practice with devotion, with good faith, with good confidence and trust, if from your heart you practice in accordance with the true Dharma, with the genuine Dharma, then these conditions will arise naturally. You won't have to chase them. It comes quicker. You won't have to wait for them. And so things such as the requisites, such as food or any other types of resources that you may need on the Dharma path will appear to you, just come naturally. You may have to make some sort of effort here and there, but that effort, it won't be effort really. It's just because you're enthusiastic about it. Remember the two aspects of great effort, the enthusiasm and the perseverance. Sometimes you have to persevere, a little bit more effort. Other times with enthusiasm, things just come naturally, you know. So for the last minute, I'll just read this quickly to you. Since there is never a time when worldly activities come to an end, limit your activities. Dedicate your virtues throughout the day and the night, and always watch your mind. Because you have received advice, whenever you are not meditating, always practice in accordance with what your spiritual guide says. If you practice with great devotion, results will arise immediately without you having to wait for a long time. If from your heart you practice in accordance with the Dharma, both food and resources will come naturally to hand. I rejoice in your meritorious goodness. Thank you for sharing the time with me. I look forward to seeing you next week's class. And practice or study Dharma, practice Dharma, share the Dharma to the best of your ability with joy, you know, with patience, live morally, make the right effort in the right direction.